Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Tuesday, February 11th. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about reasons to and reasons not to get into business. Sounds straightforward, right? But that's hardly ever the case, right? So, hang tight. Alrighty, so my name is Eric, if you didn't already know it, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. So, what are the reasons to start a business, to stay in business, and when it's time to wave the white flag? And you're probably shaking your head right now. If you've never started or ran a business, and you're thinking it's going to be a lot of fun, I got news for you. I mean, for me, I thrive on chaos, or I did, and thrived on being the underdog, and thrived on coming up with viable options to keep the business in the blue. And I've seen so many friendships ruined from business. I've seen so many relationships shattered because of business. And when you take into consideration that there's more failures than there are successes in business, it makes most of us wonder why you'd even want to get into business. There must be something wrong up here. And there usually is. No, I'm just kidding. Why do so many people fail at business? They fail to plan. They fail to look at every part of the things that can go right and, most importantly, things that can go wrong. You know, when somebody asks me my take, or they're asking me for my advice on whether to start a business, I tell them, sit down with a business plan. Honest to God. Even if you're not going to borrow money, sit down with that business plan and go from front to back and do it over again. And why do I say that? Most business plans, you can get them right offline, print them, okay? Is when you go through it, it's honing you in, it's giving you a taste of the direction that you want to go. And, you know, nothing is planned in cement. That's the other thing, is people figure out what they want to do, and then they aren't willing to be workable or do a workaround, you know, because if they come up against a brick wall, they stop and they give up. And I've seen people in business unable to give up on a sinking ship. You know, the captain must go down with the ship, right? Not necessarily. I mean, there's so many things that we as business owners have to confront on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly, and especially tax time, yearly, right? And then you throw employees in there, and not just the different dynamics of each employee, but the headaches that go with it through hiring another CPA just to handle payroll, because the state and federal government make it very daunting to try to take it on yourself. I mean, you have to be a scholar with 2 lifetimes of experience to handle payroll. At least that's what I looked at. So for us, I found it cheaper just to hire that part of it done. And that's part of the key of business, is hiring key people to do stuff that are your weak area. You don't need to do it all yourself. You just need to hire the right people in those key slots. And like with payroll, it's a part-time position. I get billed basically by the hour to have a certified public accountant that handles 100 and some other accounts for payroll on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. And at the end of the year, she gives me a printout, everything I need to know to give to my other CPA. Yes, I have two CPAs. One that does payroll, and then one that does the year-end corporate taxes. Even though I do all the legwork of coming up with the profit, loss, this, that, I still pay someone to do the corporate taxes with the information that I give them. And why do I do that? Because ours is a C Corp. So what does that mean? It means that it has its own set of rules. It's not like a partnership or an LLC that you can file with your regular taxes at the end of the year. No, this is its own entity and has stocks, shares, and if you're like me, I have myself on payroll, but I also am the controlling owner, and if we're making a lot of profit, I pay as an employee in, right? And then I get hit again as being the major stockholder on profits gained from the business. A lot of them, CPAs will call it double jeopardy. Choose your poison, right? So where am I going with this? There's so many people that I see fail at business because they fail to plan. They think it's going to be like a box of chocolates all the time. And it's not. You know, it's great when the money's rolling in, the jobs are rolling in, and you're counting the money of how much money you're making. But are you really making that much? When you start looking at all the different mouths that you're feeding, and including the state and federal government, how much are you making? How much are you putting into your pocket on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis? How much are you really making? Because you can't be all numbers. I've seen people try to run business on just strictly the business side of things, of all numbers, like an accountant would, and fail miserably because they weren't willing to think outside the box. They're usually anal when it comes to numbers. Numbers don't lie, so it takes kind of like being an accountant, but being a dreamer too. But not one or the other. I've seen happy couples split up over business. And it could be the husband running a business, could be the wife running a business, could be they're in business together, which I don't recommend. And it's great when the business is doing good. But when it starts to falter or run into a roadblock, it's that certain breed that's going to be able to make the corner instead of going off the road or hitting head on into a brick wall. Reasons not to get into business: because it's fun. Now, is fun part of business? It is for me, because the bigger the challenge, the more I like it. And I'm a challenge-driven individual, or at least I was for the most part. I'm more relaxed now. But I lived for the challenge, for the excitement. And if you watched the other video from yesterday or the day before yesterday, I forget, of when it became mundane is when I grew tired of it. And mundane, it was making money. It was doing really well. But I couldn't find any more challenges for it. I got as far as I could get, or I thought I did. So I would walk away, looking for that next challenge. Those are the people that do great for startups. All right, let me just say that much. If you like a challenge and thinking outside the box and running with the wolves, startup is for you. But you better have someone that can manage that business once it gets up and going. And this is where I've seen husband and wife teams work together, or partners work together. Is one is very good at doing the initial startup and getting it running and giving it growth. But once it reaches to a certain level, they become bored. And the worst thing you can do to someone that is challenge driven is have them get bored, because they lose interest. So having two people that one is driven and the other is, I can handle the day-to-day mundane, that's the way I like things, I could see working very well. All right? Not one or the other. Because if you take the one that likes mundane, they'll never get the business off the ground. They don't have what it takes. Or they're not willing to apply that to themselves. Take the one that's challenge driven like me, we'll get it up and running and make it successful, and then walk away. So being one or the other is not good. It's having someone that's challenge driven and great for startups are normally not that good to running the day-to-day operations. Now, Amos, you can chime in and hear anywhere. What keeps you in the ball game for the day-to-day? Are you finding challenges within the day that is enough to keep you preoccupied? See, that's the key. Is it enough to keep you preoccupied, or have you become bored with it? If the challenges of the day aren't that big, or where you think that it's mundane, it's not going to work. Now, are there people that, I mean, let's take, as much as you hate the guy, most of you do, I don't, Trump. Let's take him for an example. He knows how to start up things. He's a mover and shaker. He is challenge driven. But once he faces the challenge head on and solves, or for the most part solves, in his head what the issue is, he puts key people in place that are well qualified for that position. Sometimes overqualified. But he doesn't just stick any Tom, Dick, or Harry or Jane in there. He is putting in people that he knows are really good at what they do. And that may be running a hotel after he gets it built, or leaving the construction part of it once he gets the funding to a construction project, or for a construction person that knows how to handle everything from concrete to rebar to And that's how those people elevate, is they get it to that certain position that most people can't, and then hand it off, and then go do something else, and hand it off, go do something else, and then hand it off to a well-qualified individual that he knows will take it to the next level, or at least will keep it going and profitable. But I would imagine with him, he has kind of like the mindset of me and many others of you out there, is he may have a list of 5 things. If it doesn't hit on all 5 things, it's a no-go. It's a no-go. In his head. Everything that he's coming up with, for the most part, is common sense. It's like the pennies. We're spending how many billions of dollars making pennies that people don't want to handle. So round it up to a nickel. Save taxpayers money on pennies. And move on. It's not stuff that's way out of the box. He's just looking at things that, all right, here's the problem. Here's how you solve it. Go. And in business, a lot of times you have to be quick on your feet. See, I know a lot of people that would be fine with a business as long as it was in the blue and the receipts were coming in, the money was coming in. But the minute it goes south, that's when you find the real business people. It's not when it's going good. It's when it's going bad. And you need to know when to abandon that ship or take it on as a challenge and look for other ways to make it better. And that's where so many people fail when it comes to business, is they can't get past that stage. Because I'm telling you right now, every business is going to have these challenges to overcome. And, yin and yang. If you have somebody, a partner, that is good with the mundane, but not good, because those two don't fit in the same hemisphere of being okay with, day to day, but also can handle challenges, are usually not in the same realm. So if you have 2 partners, one that's good with mundane and the other is good with challenges, you have to have enough challenges going on to keep the guy or the gal, I've seen some really smart business women, or the gal in there from becoming bored. Because that's the worst thing for us, is to get bored. And I've got a string of businesses that I walked away from that were profitable because I became bored with them. Not because they couldn't make $1, because they were. It's because I became bored with them. And that just wasn't my makeup. I'm the type of person that, is on steroids. I was drinking coffee all day long, puffing on cigarettes, hardly eating, but that was how my energy level, I had to keep it up to a certain point. So what are the good reasons to get into business, and what are the bad ones? The bad ones, because we're going to have a great time. Because I'm going to take my best friend and we're going to go into business together. And it's going to be such a great time. I'm going to start a business with my wife or my husband or my partner. And it's going to be super great because we're going to be working together. Let me tell you something. When it comes to your significant other, you may love them to death, but you'll be ready to kill them you they will be willing to kill each other or want to by the time the first year gets by in business. They're like, because they can't deal with them. When you were working two different jobs and you were together for a couple hours in the evening, you loved each other. But when you paired up because you thought more time together would mean you would become even closer, not going to happen. You will want to kill each other. Same thing with your best friend. Will become your arch enemy. They will. Because they're going to see a different side of you if you're the driven one. If you're the mundane one, you're trying to figure out what the hell is with this guy. Is he drinking too much Red Bull during the day? Probably is. So what I'm trying to get across is when it comes to starting a business, don't tread lightly. A lot of thought has to go into it. And the ones that I see that work, that are couples, friends, is everything is well spelled out before it starts. Everybody knows to stay in their lane. Where are the boundaries? And you can't infringe on those boundaries. And the other thing is, and it's hard for people that are challenge driven, that do startups, to shut their mind off at the end of a workday. And then go you'll find them on the tennis court, basketball court. You're going to find them somewhere trying to burn that excess energy. And they're thinking business the whole time they're doing it. You think that they're just honing their skills. Might be bowling. But what they're doing is they're trying to burn off that excess energy that they can't shut down. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of us went to drinking just to kind of tamper it down. What I can tell you right now is not everybody is made up to being able to run a business. Start it, maintain it, and move on. There's probably more people out there that can come into a business and see what it's not doing right, where they can do some minor adjustments and then maintain it. I've seen that a lot of times. Okay? That might be buying up a business that's failing, and it's failing because of financial reasons, because they're not investing well. And you're good at investing in mundane, so you find the weak points, shore them up, and make it a profitable business, do it most of your life, and then sell it at a profit at the end when you want to retire. Seen that a lot of times. But those aren't the people that are doing startups. Those are your maintainers with a skill set that they could see a business that was already up and running. They could see a few improvements that they could do to the business to make it profitable. And there's nothing wrong with people like that. I mean, that's the people that Trump are hiring to take over after he's got it up and going, or to a certain level, right? So if you take anything away from this video, it's just because you're managing a business for Joe Schmo does not mean you can run a business like Joe Schmo. Because you're only seeing the day-to-day operations, right? You're not seeing the back door of where he's doing deals with other people and he's problem solving. I've seen that a lot of times. People that were put into management positions and running the day-to-day maybe, and then thinking, this is nothing, I should be able to do this for myself, and then fail miserably. Yeah. A lot of times because you don't have the structure that you do when you're an employee. When you're an employee, you have so many hours a day. You can shut it off at the end of the day. It's not my problem. As a business owner, it's your problem 24/7. You reap the rewards when things are going great, but you're also the one that is struggling when it's not. An employee is like, not my problem. I could walk off this job and go do it for somebody else. And that's what I mean. It looks very tempting to somebody like that, but I wouldn't recommend it. Because you can't, as a business owner, just shut it off. You can't. So on that note, you guys have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning. If you're thinking about starting a business, get a business plan. Go through it once and then go through it a second time. Revisit why it is you want to be in business. And definitely, if you're getting into business, getting into bed with somebody else, make sure that boundaries are set and each know what the expectation is of the other. On that note, have a great day.